Man, we've got a lot to cover in this session. We've got picking up leads, or teaching a horse how to pick up leads for the first time. We've got spooking in the corner, spooking at the doorways, a high energetic warm up. There's a lot going on for me. There's a lot going on for this horse, so I hope you enjoy this session. I'm Steve Andrews, and this is The Natural Horseman. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to put her on a little pattern, and I'm going to run through, while we're on this pattern, I'm going to run through my 5 yields. And being that she's really high energy and pretty emotional, I'm going to come up, I'm going to bring my energy up to match her life and her energy, really so that she hears me and she sees me and registers that I'm up here. Because if I'm going to be too quiet and just sit too still, I'm not going to have much of a chance to get to her brain and her emotions and start to and begin to cause her to emotionally collect. So this forward that she's offering, I'm really going to ride it, but I'm really going to say, I'm going to say, yes, we can go there, but we're going to go there in the way that I want to go there. We're not going to just run away. Okay, so I'm putting her on this pattern, and I'm being pretty quick with my transitions, pretty quick, because her energy is big. She's mentally and emotionally lost. She's not panicked. She's not necessarily scared. Okay, if she were scared, I'd take a different approach, but she's pretty mentally, emotionally lost. So I need to make sure I really ride this. Run through my 5 yields at a level or at an intensity that she is offering. Now, when she starts to calm down, I'm going to start to calm down with her. Okay, that was good. Okay, there she felt my leg, and I asked her to yield, and she went faster. So I'm going to ride that intensity. I don't want to add to it, but I want to ride it. I'm going to ride that intensity and start to manage those back feet, because that's what I asked for. I asked for a hindquarter yield. Manage those back feet. There she goes. And when her intensity comes down, so does mine. My intensity is going to come down with her. Good. Bring her around to the right side. Let's see what happens if I apply an inside leg. Okay, she didn't run off that time. Good. Bring the hind end around. Very good. We'll sit forward. Balance the reins and my legs. Bring that hind end around. That's better. That's better. See if I can shift my weight back. Bring her front quarters through. See if that front quarter yield is working. She's getting a little lost in her back end. There, she sorted it out. So I'm just waiting for her to find that balance on her back end. And when we get into the canter, that's really going to matter. So I talk a lot about, kind of changing gears here, I talk a lot about teaching and educating a horse versus doing tasks. So as I'm running through my checklist to teaching the canter, first I had to get her mentally and emotionally with me. And second, I need to know that all my 5 yields are working so that I have a chance to actually be able to teach her to canter, meaning she's going to understand what to do with her different body parts. When I start asking her or teaching her to pick up that canter. And the reason I like to teach these things versus just have them be tasks that I can do is so that the horse understands what's going on. If the horse learns to communicate with you, and how do I want to say it? I don't want them running from pressure or thinking about escaping pressure. Okay, we talk a lot about pressure release as horse trainers and horsemen, but I don't want a horse thinking about escaping pressure. I want them thinking about seeking relief. Okay, there's a difference. Escaping pressure and seeking relief are very different. So I really teach this as a language so that she and all the other horses that come to me really understand what I'm asking of them. Okay. So our yields are starting to work here. You notice I go back to lots of serpentines and little circles to get this horse settled in, especially in the first 5 minutes of the warm-up there when she might be pretty hot. And I'm riding her a lot on the inside. So I'm riding her on the inside for that hindquarter yield. She's starting to situate her back end, so I'm going to shift my weight back, see if I can swing her shoulders through. That was very good. Okay, swinging the shoulders like that, that's going to help when we start to ask her to canter in a few minutes here. When we start to teach her how to canter in a few minutes here, you're going to need to be able to swing the shoulders, and you really want your horse to understand how to swing those shoulders out of the way so they can bring their hind end through. What else you'll notice is I do those two yields on this side. So we go from forward to yielding the hindquarters. When she starts getting her feet situated back there, there she goes. She can start to engage that outside hind as she swings her shoulders through. Okay, so that's what the left lead departure is going to look like. Engage the outside hind, swing the shoulders through. Okay. Very good. So we have a couple more yields we need to test out before we move on to the next step. One being the drift. I'm going to add a little forward, a little bit of a trot to this. I'm going to change my weight and use my reins to change her weight and see if she'll step sideways a little bit. That's pretty good. Or we call that a drift. I'll try it on this other side. I'm going to ask her to trot. I'm going to shift my weight, and I'm going to shift her weight and see if I can get her to drift laterally. Step laterally. Over, over, over. Okay, she's a little stuck there, so we're going to address that. Let's try this again. There she goes. There she goes. And step out of that. Good. Okay. The next piece I want to do is start to transition into a pattern that I'm going to use to start to teach this horse to canter. So just moving over here, I'm just taking note that her energy is changing. So we changed the place in the arena, we changed environments. So, and she's reacting to that. She's looking out the door. So before I start teaching her anything, we need to get her settled in down here. Yep, she's spooking at the tractor out the door there. So this will be good for you guys to watch how I address it. As she's looking at this tractor out here and wondering about it, I'm not making her look at it. I'm just riding back and forth past it, encouraging her to stay with my focus. Okay, we're getting closer and closer every time. If I were to force her to look at it, I really could undo a lot of trust and respect that we've built over these past months to get this horse to where she starts to respect and trust people. So I don't want her to focus on that scary thing, because that's going to take my focus to that, there, good girl, to that scary thing. But rather ride past it, encourage her to find safety with my focus. There, that's better. She's starting to settle in a little bit down here. And you know, you might find you come out to the barn and you have a plan in mind, but what comes up, you know, you might have to, something might come up and you have to address something totally different. So I know that as long as she's spooking, getting nervous down here at this end of the arena, there's no sense in me moving on and trying to teach her how to canter, teach her something new. There's no sense in that at all. You need to address the a more important issue is her confidence. you may notice I'm being pretty slick about what I'm doing here, because I still have a plan. So as we're building her confidence down here with whatever it is out the door that might be scaring her, maybe this tractor and this stuff in the corner of the arena, I'm starting to shape up a pattern at the same time. So I'm encouraging her to find safety and comfort with my focus, all while I'm setting up a pattern to teach her how to canter. She's taking in the views of the Krista on the camera over there. What is she doing in the corner? Good. So we're starting to dial in on this pattern. We're starting to build some confidence at this end of the arena. And what I really want you guys to notice about how I'm helping her through that is I'm not taking her focus and going, oh yikes, there's that scary tractor and those scary things in the corner. I'm redirecting her focus to where am I riding? So she can really start to find the safety and comfort with my focus, not with what's out in the world that might eat her. Okay, if she stays with me, I can keep her safe and comfortable. If she doesn't, then things might get uncomfortable. There she goes. She's almost getting curious about what's out the door there. I like that. Good. I'm going to start to ask for some forward out of her hind end, just a little bit of reaching in that back end. I'm going to start working her nose now. So in motion on this pattern, I need to start separating and isolating the body parts. And I'm going to start with her nose. I'm going to start up front. So I'm going to start just seeing if I can stay on pattern and tipping her nose to the inside just a little bit. Just a little bit. Then I'm using a bit of what she knows from the drift and the 4/4 yield to get her shoulders starting to swing to the outside. Okay, I don't have a spur on to do this. This is our 16th ride. I'm sure we could, ride with spurs, but it's not necessary. I like to use a spur as understanding pressure while we're on that topic. Just understanding pressure if they're forgetting or they're not understanding or they need a reminder. I might use a little touch, but I also tell people if you need a spur to train a horse, you're not ready to train a horse. All right. So I'm just gently working on the nose and the shoulder here. This takes time, it's a process. Okay. Now I'm going to start riding that outside hind a little bit. And I'm going to start asking here for her. I'm going to shift my weight back and start with my rein on my inside leg, start lifting her inside shoulder up. Good. And see if she'll take that lead for me. Good girl. Okay, what I really appreciate about that, we'll have her come to the center and stop, is that she's just learning how to canter. And again, I talk about learning how to canter, isolating the body parts so that you don't have a runaway. We're not chasing or spanking or hurting that horse up into the canter. Right? We're isolating the body parts, we're shifting the weight and asking them to do something different with their feet. Okay, so that's why I go through this process. Now, it's not the first time I've cantered this horse. Within the first few rides, you want to get out there, whether you're in the round pen or whatever kind of pen you're in, and maybe get that go button in there. And it's also an energy test. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you get up into that canter? And a lot of times you'll find that's when they buck on the start, is when they go from the trot to the canter. So really isolating those parts, getting everything working, teaching the horse how to canter, teaching them what to do with their feet, what to do with their different body parts can save you a lot of grief when it comes time to teaching these leads. If you guys go back and watch some of my groundwork videos, and watch how I isolate the different parts of the body to really teach the horse. You know, I can elevate your shoulder. I can get you right there. She's getting impulsive. So go back to the groundwork, then I'll cover what I'm doing here. So when I do the groundwork with the horse, it's really my halter breaking process, the stuff I do on the ground. I isolate the body parts and start getting these horses to understand that I can talk to their weight through a rein, that I can influence their different body parts, and teach them that I can elevate that front end, get them to reach up into that canter. So it doesn't necessarily start right up in the saddle, though it can. You certainly can start up in the saddle if you've got a horse that you're riding. But a horse like this, never been ridden before, wasn't halter broke, you can incorporate that right into your halter breaking process. Now she's getting impulsive here. She's almost thinking, hey, I just got to run. Okay, no, that's never the answer. You never are allowed to leave without me. So when they get impulsive like that, I'm going to go right back to, let me bring you into my relaxation, my go-to pattern. Let me remind you that this inside leg talks to those hindquarters. This outside leg can swing the front through. And the same with the reins here. This inside rein can step your inside front foot over. Let me remind you that we're going together. You're not leaving without me, and I'm not leaving without you. I did ask for that trot. I'm riding mostly on a loose rein. I'm doing lots of one rein stop to the inside to kind of settle her in as she gets impulsive. If she gets stuck there, I'm going to bring her back into my little circle. Transition that into rolling the back quarters. Transition that into bringing the front quarters through. Okay. I'm asking for the trot here. Something else I can do, you know, her brain is really on go. It's really on go fast, which now her brain went to the camera over in the corner. So I'm going to interrupt this pattern and see if we can get a little backwards yield. She wasn't thinking backwards at all. She's kind of fighting that there, saying, wait a second, I'm not thinking backwards. And that's a great way to get to a horse's mind too, is asking for a transition that they are not ready for. She was not ready to stop. She was not ready to go backwards. And you can see that by how she was going the opposite direction of my hands and my body. Okay, so let's get her up into this trot again. So that's something else. When they get kind of locked into one frame of mind, ask for a transition that they're not ready for. Like right here, she's not ready for a hindquarter yield. Guess what I'm going to ask her to do? I'm going to ask that back end to go around. Again, you can see because her body is going the opposite direction of my hands and my reins. She's not thinking back to me, she's just thinking go. Okay, it's not acceptable. That's not what we do. Okay, she's thinking go, and I appreciate that, but she's not thinking stopping back up. She's thinking go, she's not thinking back to me. So this is really important because the conversation between us isn't happening. There's no back and forth anymore. So I've kind of lost my horse here. I'm going to stop her in a different spot here. Look at that, she is really fighting that. She's really not ready for that. She's just thinking go. So there's that communication breakdown. Okay. I'm going to ask her to trot. I'm going to ask her to stop. She's already not ready for it. Back up a few strides and let's go. And let's trot. And let's turn around the front end. Yep, now she's not ready for any of this stuff. She's just thinking go. There's no sense in trying to teach something if they're not thinking with you. Okay, she's getting a little off balance, so I'm going to take her backwards, see if she can ride backwards around that front end. Okay, so it's still a hindquarter yield, except this time we're going backwards. go. Really putting that brain to work there. I'll walk her out for a minute here. So ask for that transition. If they're not with you, really ask for that transition that they're not ready for. Okay. Get them really thinking back and feeling to you. You know, too often we can get impulsive ourselves and getting caught up trying to teach a task to your horse's own detriment, because they're not going to be able to figure out what you're trying to teach them if they're not thinking with you. That's feeling better. She's staying at my pace in the trot. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start shaping her up for a canter. But what I'm not going to do yet is ask her to canter. I'm going to start shaping her up, see if I can isolate her nose and swing her shoulder to the outside. I'm just going to do that a lot. Touch and release, shape her up, or set her down, shape her up. Especially if her head's bobbing a little bit there, I'm going to hold on to her until that head bobbing stops, till she goes with my feel. There she goes. That's feeling pretty good. Now the reason on this horse, and I'll do this on a lot of horses that tend to anticipate, the reason I'm just shaping her up for a canter, not asking her to canter, is because this is just, I want her to learn to wait for me. I don't want her to learn that just because I start to put you in this shape means you have to canter, because I might be shaping her up for a rollback or for a turn on the haunches or any kind of collected turn or lateral maneuver I might want to do. Okay, so I could do lots of things with this shape. Just because I put you in a shape doesn't mean we fill in the blank. Okay. So this stuff, it might be a little dry to watch, but once you're out doing it, there's so much going on. There's so much back and forth. Oh my gosh, it's pretty fascinating, really, developing a conversation between you and an animal that's designed to be your biological enemy. It's pretty fascinating. Okay, what I like about that, I didn't ask her to walk, but what I like about that is it's the opposite of what she was thinking a few minutes ago. Come on, let's go. It's the opposite of what she was thinking a few minutes ago, which was, I gotta go fast. Okay, so I do appreciate where her mind's going there. Okay, so now I'm gonna start shaping her up for that canter. See if I can shift my weight back and her weight back, and lift with my inside leg and my inside rein. Lift, 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 lift. Pick up that left lead this time, and a few strides. Bring her into a stop. When I'm first teaching these horses how to canter, it's important for me, you know, you can decide what's important for you, but it's important for me to shut them down from that canter before they have the chance to build up a whole bunch of anxiety, or before they have a chance to think about running away. So that was maybe only half of a lap of a circle there, and we're going to build that up over time, because what you also don't want to do on the balancing end of that, on the opposite side of that, is just do half a lap every time, because then the amount of time your horse canters will shorten, and you can actually teach him not to canter for you. So as we progress, we're going to canter longer, farther and farther every time. Now, if you ask for that canter and they take off and bolt right away, break them right down. I wouldn't necessarily stop them, but I break her right back down to my little go-to small circles, small serpentines pattern. Okay, so I think that was good. Day one, actually teaching this horse how to canter. Let's just do a real quick recap here. I know you guys probably have a busy schedule like I do, but first, make sure your 5 yields under saddle are working. Okay. Second, have a go-to relaxation exercise. Third, have a pattern, a pattern in their mind. You can establish this pattern for a few days before you actually ask for the canter, and that might be smart, because when your horse starts to canter, you don't want to get out of control. You want your horse knowing where they're going and what they're doing. And then the last piece is make sure that when you're asking for that canter, you're being thoughtful about it, so that your horse can be thoughtful about it. You take those 5 yields, you put them together, and you change the you know, you change the different parts of the body, or you ask the different parts of the body what to do. So that way you're thoughtful about it, she's thoughtful about it, and you can really get some stuff done. I hope that that video was helpful. We covered a lot from, you know, we were all over the place, from, you know, a quick warm up, energetic warm up, to spooking back in the corner, to how to pick up leads. So it was a good session. It was a lot for her. But I hope it's helpful. If this stuff is helpful, hit that subscribe button, follow us along, and I appreciate you guys checking in.